بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما وارزقني فهما وإلهاما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وعنده مفاتيح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو ويعلم ما في البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة لا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين صدق الله العظيم. Dear everybody at the neighborhood universalist congregation, I greet you all with the heavenly greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace and blessings be upon you all. Excuse my voice today, I'm fasting because of the Hajj festival, so mouth is a little bit dry, so I will try to deliver my message. First of all, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for this generous invitation and for the warmth with which you welcome people from different faith tradition into your sacred space. It is an honor to stand before you all who upholds the beautiful principle of striving towards the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. As an imam, I often meet people in our community who feel overwhelmed by the world, by justice, by inequality, by the pace of life. And I have come to believe that most of our pain comes from imbalance. That is my topic today, inside us and outside us. Think of a family you know, where one person is silently carrying everything. They work long hours, they care for children or elders, they manage the household, they absorb everyone's emotions. On the outside, the family looks beautiful. Everything is good. But on the inside, there's quiet exhaustion. The balance is off. One heart is overloaded, while the others don't even realize it. And think of a workplace where some are respected and well paid, and others, often women, racialized people, or newcomers and refugees, do invisible work with little recognition. The organization functions. It is in the top fortune companies, but beneath the surface, there's resentment, fear, and a sense of that things are not fair. In Islam, we have a word for that deep balance that should run through life. Al-Mīzān, the scale, the measure, and the equilibrium. Quran says, وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ أَلَّا تَطْغَوْا فِي الْمِيزَانِ. The Quran says, Almighty God created and raised the sky, and He has set the balance, that you may not transgress in the balance. This is the first concept, Mīzān. God raised the heavens, set the cosmic balance, and came the instruction, do not violate it. Do not violate it. Because violation causes corruption and destruction in the heavens and earth. When that happens, we need to establish al-adl, justice, to restore that balance. Justice is not a political slogan, but a spiritual obligation. Something you owe to every human being simply because they are human. It is the act of putting things in their rightful place and giving everyone their due. These two words, adl and mizan, are not separate concepts. They are two sides of the same truth. Justice is what we do. Balance is what we restore when we do justice. These are not merely theological ideas hidden in ancient scripture. They are living principles. They are ecological principles, social principles, spiritual principles, and deeply, deeply human principles. Let me unpack Mīzān. Now here's something I want you to hold for a moment. The universe already knows about Mīzān because it has been created with it. Modern science has discovered what the Quran announced 1,400 years ago. The universe is held in a balance so precise, so exquisite, so improbable. Physicists call it one of the deepest unsolved mysteries of all of science. They call it the fine-tuning. I'll give two examples. If the cosmological constant, the energy density of the empty space, were larger by just 1 part in 10 to the power of 120, it's tiny, 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 the universe would have expanded too fast for a single galaxy to form. No stars, no planets, no life, just cold, dark, empty space expanding forever. Second example, if oxygen in our atmosphere, we all are breathing now, were a few percentage points higher, everything on Earth would spontaneously combust. If it's a few points lower, and none of us could be able to breathe. There are many such precise calculations in the universe, but the point is simple. The universe is balanced on a knife's edge, and it has been from the very first moment of creation. The Quran put it this way: over a millennium before any of this was measured, maintain the balance with justice and do not violate it. It is extraordinary that a 7th century text told us what physicists needed supercomputers to confirm. But, dear brothers and sisters, here's the problem. We are violating that balance. We are violating that balance. I know that many of you are in your congregation are environmental activists. I have seen them in other events. They would tell you that since 1970, we have destroyed 68% of world's wildlife population. The global average temperature has risen by 1.2 degrees Celsius, which is catastrophic. The oceans grew more acidic, etc., etc. I don't want to go into the detail, but you get the idea. We were given a balanced world, but we are tipping the scale. Mīzān is not only a cosmic fact, it is a moral responsibility. The precision with which this universe was calibrated for life is not a background detail. When that balance is tipped, and the harmony will be broken. The greed we have as human beings, the competition, the hatred, and tyranny in turn affects our life on earth. That imbalance affects our life, our social life, family life, community life, political life, and we lose balance, get violated, and disturb harmony. Even our own bodies survive through balance, Mīzān. Blood pressure, temperature, hormones, sleep, emotion. When balance exists, life flourishes. When balance is violated, suffering emerges. Even if we do not have a proper sleep, you can understand how we react the next day. Your congregation's 6th principle calls for a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. I would humbly add, and for the world itself too, because we can't have justice for people on a planet we ourselves have broken. Adil, let me unpack Adil. How do we restore this cosmic and social balance when it is violated? This is where the second concept, Adil, justice, comes in. Justice is not only about politics or courts or geopolitics or global hegemony. It is a parent not favoring one child over another. It is a manager who listens to the least powerful employee. It is a religious leader who protects, not abuses, the trust in their community. And it is a congregation that refuses to let any voice be permanently marginalized. I saw that today when I came to your space. One deeply moving story from the Prophet Muhammad's life illustrates this. There was a poor woman who was cleaning Masjid Nabawi, the mosque. She was not famous, nobody knew her, and she did not sit in councils of power. And one day the Prophet noticed she was missing and asked about her. The companions told him, his friends told him, she passed away. They had buried her quietly, thinking she was not important enough to trouble the leader. Prophet was upset. He grieved and said, "Why did you not inform me? Show me where she has been buried." He went right away and prayed for her soul. This is Adil. This is not what the powerful offer when they feel generous. It is what every person is owed, always, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what they believe. Justice means seeing the invisible. In God's sight, the person who quietly cleans a space of worship is not less important than the person who preaches in the pulpit. In our time, the cleaning staff, the care workers, the migrants doing hard labor, the underpaid support staff, our social balance depends on them. Yet our attention often passes over them. Adil calls us to restore their dignity. With this inner Adil, our activism, our leadership, even our spirituality can become another form of imbalance. That's the connection between these two. Now, I will give you another extraordinary story which I see in your congregation. This happened in Prophet's life. Before Prophet Muhammad received his first revelation at the age of 40, and he was not a prophet at that time, he was a young man in Mecca who witnessed an injustice. A merchant from Yemen had his goods stolen by a powerful tribal chief in Mecca. The man cried out in the street. He went to all the leaders, but nobody helped him because the person who stole his goods are a very powerful person. But a group of middle-class men came together. They said, different tribes, they said, you know what, we are going to support this person. They made a pact. They said, we will stand with the oppressed against the oppressor as long as the sea wets the shore. Young Muhammad, who was at that time in his early 20s, joined them. It happened, that pact happened, and a companion's name, Abdullah bin Jada'an, is home. And the pact was called Hilful Fudul, virtuous alliance. Years later, this happened when he was very young. Years later, after the prophethood, the revelation, and after building a community and a state, and he became the leader of that community. At one point, he looked back at the pact. He remembered that. He said, if I were called to such a pact today, I would respond. I will be the first one to respond. Prophet Muhammad did not say, if only the participants are Arabs. He did not say, if we agree on theology. He did not say, only if they allow us to lead it. He said, if you are standing against oppression, I am there. In Islamic thought, I will conclude with these two relevance, how this adl and justice applies to ourselves. In Islamic thought, inner balance is the foundation for outward justice. So let me now explore with you the application of Mīzān in two interconnected dimensions. Number one, balance within the self, ourselves. And second is balance with one another. Balance within the self. Islam teaches us justice begins in the human heart. There's a profound tendency in our world to divide life into extremes. Work or family, faith or science, ambition or compassion, strength or vulnerability. But the Islamic tradition repeatedly calls people towards moderation and wholesomeness. The Prophet Muhammad warned his companions against extremism even in worship. One companion wanted to fast every single day. I'm fasting only today. And another wanted to pray all night without sleep. Another said, I'm going to withdraw from family life in its entirety. The Prophet responded by saying, your body has a right over you. Your family has a right over you. And your soul has a right over you. That means balance. In other words, spirituality is not self-destruction, it is sacred balance. Today, burnout has become almost like a badge of honor. People proudly announce how exhausted they are. Rest feels like guilt. Stillness feels unproductive. Yet our imbalance spills outward. An anxious society, dear brothers and sisters, an anxious society produces anxious politics. An emotionally wounded society produces wounded relationships. A spiritually empty society seeks meaning in consumption. That's why we have all the Black Friday sale and all these sales, because we are feeling that. The Islamic tradition teaches us that when the inner self loses balance, justice in society becomes difficult. Because justice requires clarity, compassion, restraint, and the ability to see another human being as fully human. The Quran repeatedly invites humanity to reflect, to pause, to contemplate, to observe, not because God needs our reflection, but because human beings lose themselves when we live without pause and reflection. Today, Suzanne was saying after this, she wanted to have a pause. That's important for us to sometimes reflect why we are in a rush. And the second one, the last one, is a balance with one another. The second dimension of Mīzān is social balance. In other words, justice between each other, human beings. In Islam, justice is not optional charity, it's a sacred obligation. Quran commands this plainly, which you read earlier. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين. O believers, stand firmly for justice, even if it be against yourselves, your parents, and your kin. Notice the radical nature of that verse. Justice is not merely defending your own tribe, nation, race, ethnicity, or ideology. Justice requires moral courage to stand against your own, to admit your own biases, to recognize when we benefit from unfair systems. The Quran teaches that human diversity is not a problem to solve, but a sign to appreciate. Different peoples, different languages, different cultures, different traditions. These are not barriers to human unity. These are pathways towards mutual understanding. And yet today, polarization is profitable. Fear spreads faster than empathy. Algorithms reward outrage, and public discourse becomes harsher. People retreat into ideological camps. One of the greatest spiritual challenges of our age is learning how to remain morally grounded without becoming morally cruel, because imbalance in justice creates dehumanization. Whether we speak about poverty, refugees, indigenous reconciliation, racism, war, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, economic inequality, every one of these issues ultimately asks the same question. Can we recover balance in how we see one another? Can we create societies where human dignity is not conditional? And can we build communities where peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice? Because peace without justice is often only silence imposed by power. In closing, let me conclude with a powerful visual. In Islamic belief, we believe in the hereafter. There's a powerful image of a day of judgment, al-Mīzān. That is the scale of deeds. In that scale of deeds, all our deeds will be weighed and measured. Our good deeds will go into one side, our bad deeds will go into one side. Every single word, including everything. It will weigh our good and bad deeds, every deed weighed, every life accounted for. We do not know exactly how that's going to look like, but the symbol is clear. Every act of justice, every act of kindness, every effort to restore balance, however small or tiny, is noticed and recorded in Mīzān. But Islamic teachings tells us you don't have to wait until the day of judgment to die and then resurrected again to see that scale. We all are carrying that scale in our hands every day. Imagine that you all have a scale, that Mīzān. The micro scale is already here. We are holding it. We are invited to closely monitor that scale and ask ourselves, where is it tipping towards? Your sixth principle dreams of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Islamic tradition calls us to adl and Mīzān, justice and balance, as the path to that world. May we be among those who, when they see the scale tip towards injustice, have the courage to reach out together and restore the balance. Thank you so much.